All right, so move on to the next segment. We're going to pivot here over to the world of MMA inside the UFC world. And I'll be sharing my fight summary on the fight that took place this weekend between Israel Adesanya and Imavov. So we saw yesterday, wherever you were watching around the world for the UFC Saudi Arabia card, we saw Imavov defeat Israel Adesanya by knockout in the second round in the main event of this UFC Saudi Arabia card. So I'm going to be honest with you guys, I did not see this coming. Imavov dominating and knocking out Israel Adesanya in the second round was not on my bingo card to start off the calendar year 2025 inside the UFC world. And Imavov in this fight between him and Israel Adesanya for as long as the fight lasted for the 2 rounds, Imavov's striking paid off in this fight. Now, he rocked Israel Adesanya and popped his head back in the first round. I thought Israel Adesanya was going to get dropped in the first round, but luckily Israel Adesanya's chin and head held up from that big significant shot that Imavov landed in the first round. But with that stiff punch. But this goes to my point of how I said in the fight prediction on Friday that 1-2 combination would pay off for Imavov against Israel Adesanya if he was going to win that fight. Well, that 1-2 combination was all she wrote when he landed that on Israel Adesanya in the second round, sent him to the canvas, and Imavov, moments later, landing the strikes on the ground, got this knockout finish. So I don't believe it was an early stoppage. A lot of people were saying that on X/Twitter yesterday from the comments that I saw on the UFC page of the knockout. I think at that particular point, Israel Adesanya was not in any position to legitimately defend himself. So I think the finish was perfect, and I don't think Israel Adesanya was going to do anything if the referee let the fight go on for another 5 to 8 seconds. So Imavov picking up the victory. This was very, very impressive for him. And Israel Adesanya's reaction time is gone, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. In combat sports, whether it's boxing, MMA, bare knuckles, you name it. If your reaction time is gone, you can't fight in combat sports. And what I saw Israel Adesanya, I mean, he's always got that kickboxing background. But the head movement is one of the reasons why Israel Adesanya was the king of this middleweight division for so long and having a durable chin. But damn it, I saw him get rocked in the first round yesterday. I said, oh, here we go. And then that 1-2 combination, that had a lot of pop to it. And that sent Israel Adesanya to the canvas, and I knew he was not getting up after that. He was hurt, rocked, and dazed. But when your reaction time is gone to combat sports, it's over. Because then you're leaving yourself open to not defending yourself, and you're leaving yourself vulnerable. And not only that, but if your reaction time is gone, what if it was a stiff jab that knocked down Israel Adesanya instead of a 1-2 combination? So things like that, it's sad, but definitely Imavov looked impressive in a short amount of time with six minutes into the fight, putting away one of the greatest middleweight champions of all time. He should be proud of this performance, the biggest victory of Imavov's UFC career thus far. So what's next for Imavov? So this performance was exactly everything Imavov needed. I mean, if he was going to defeat Israel Adesanya, he neither need to do it in dominating fashion or get the sweet knockout victory to help him climb up the middleweight division even more and possibly put his hat in the name for a middleweight title opportunity. Well, that's exactly what he did, because he executed it on his moment, got the significant knockout victory against Israel Adesanya in the second round. And heading into this fight, he was the 5th ranked contender at the middleweight division. After the new rankings come out probably Monday, Tuesday morning, I believe that Imavov is going to be ranked as a top 3 fighter at this middleweight division. And this performance has earned him the right to be a top 3 contender at this middleweight division. So I think that's where we're going to get. And I think for Imavov, the Frenchman, coming from France, I think he needs one more, I would say, because of how stacked the middleweight division is, and I'll get to that in a moment. I think he needs one more strong performance and another big win in 2025, and I think he'll be pushing the envelope and will have no choice for Dana White and the UFC executives to give him a title shot by as early as 2026. So Imavov, I think he needs one more significant win and one more dominating performance, and I think he's going to get a title shot, middleweight title shot at some point in 2026, maybe early 2026. But what's next for Israel Adesanya? I think it's time. I think Israel Adesanya really needs to consider the fact that he can no longer go in the octagon, and I think he is on retirement watch, serious retirement watch. And I'm going to be the one to say it, and a lot of you guys out there watching and listening will probably agree. I think Israel Adesanya is washed at this particular point. His reaction time is gone. He's lost his spark as being wanting to be the top dog at this middleweight division. We know Israel Adesanya is being one of the greatest middleweight fighters of all time. I think he's the second greatest middleweight fighter of all time, ranking behind the great Anderson Silva. But Israel Adesanya is no longer one of the most dangerous kickboxers in the UFC today because he's 4-5 in his last 9 fights. His last 3 performances were not good at all. He got dominated by Sean Strickland for 5 rounds in one of the biggest UFC upsets in UFC history. Then suffered his first career submission loss against Dricus du Plessis last year when he got another shot at the middleweight title. Then this year was the first fight that he had in 6 years that it was not a middleweight title fight, and he got knocked out and upsetted by Imavov within 2 rounds. So I just think the dominant Israel Adesanya, the former Nigerian king that reigned supreme over this middleweight division, is no longer there. I think his reaction time is gone, up in flames, and I think it's time for him to retire. So I really think that this is the end of an era. I think Israel Adesanya knows it because this middleweight division, I just don't see him ever contending as a top-tier contender again, because looking at this division on paper, names like Dricus du Plessis, Sean Strickland, Khamzat Chimaev, Imavov, and Robert Whittaker are all still a part of this middleweight division. And the names that I just said, Dricus du Plessis lost to, Sean Strickland he lost to. I think we all know Khamzat Chimaev will put away Israel Adesanya within 1 round at this particular point of his UFC career. He just lost against Imavov. I mean, he obviously defeated Robert Whittaker a few times in the past. I just don't see him being a legit contender at this middleweight division. Maybe it's one more fight for Israel Adesanya to possibly walk into the sunset with a victory. But I think he's truly on retirement watch after this performance against Imavov. So we'll see what's next for both of these respective fighters. But that is my Israel Adesanya versus Imavov fight summary.